I'm not discouraged. I'm not bitter. I allow that environment to give me strength and say, you know what, God, this is where I'm going. This is my life. This is where I want to go.
Welcome to Imizamo, a podcast that takes a human look at the meaning of money and work. Throughout the podcast, we'll explore the pursuit of good life, money, the dosh. We'll ask questions about ambition, aspiration, striving, and yearning. This is not a typical show about money. You won't hear tips on investment or how to save, but you will hear messy, personal reflections on the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the human cost of making a living.
And today, our guest is Nokuthula Ncube. We are already fascinated by her. We've had a 10-minute conversation with her just before we started recording, and I'm already eager to listen to her story. So Nokuthula is studying childhood development, and she works 3 jobs. So we are looking forward to getting into that conversation. Nokuthula, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Lindelani.
To start off, can you just tell us about, so today's episode is about work, where we are with it now and where we've come from and where we want to be in the future. Yeah. You were telling us about your 3 jobs, so tell us about your journey so far and where you are now and where you'd like to get in the future.
So I work a 8 to 12 job. That's an everyday job as a nanny. And then after that, I work as a cleaner, sometimes at the hotel, sometimes at a private residence. So I basically have 3 clients, which makes it 3 jobs. So I have 8 to 12, and then after 12, I go somewhere different to work. But not only that, so that's a Monday to Friday thing. On Saturdays, I study. I study childhood development, that's ECD, that I do it on Saturdays until 4 p.m.
What's the reason behind all of this work?
Okay. So one thing that I have to mention, I'm a foreigner. I'm very legal, by the way, in South Africa. I'm very legal. Please don't call immigration on me, but I'm legal. So I have a diploma in business administration.
Okay.
So I'm one girl who's got a head for business. I love business. So when you come into South Africa, you find sometimes what you want to do or what you need, a want and a need, it's more like it's a blurry line for some of us because you don't get exactly what you want to do, even if you have studied a certain course or you have a degree or diploma on something. Although I did a diploma in business administration, I've done a little bit of administration here and there, but you don't get those jobs so much. But being a mom of 3, I mean, let's be real, guys. Some of us, we can't live out of our husband's salaries. We need to work and help out in paying the bills, actually. So that takes us into having both of us working. So sometimes you find that you have kids and you don't have the joy or the ability of choosing which job that you have to do. But ultimately, I believe that each and every one of us has a vision. You need to strive to something. I've been in South Africa for like 13 years now, but I've only started studying in SA like this year. This is the only time that we got a break in our finances that allows me, okay, my husband says, okay, mommy, now you can study, you can further your studies and follow your dream, because I would love, eventually my course allows me to have my own daycare. Yeah. And I would love to bring the best, excellent daycares for African children. And I mean, it's a basis. If you capture the mind of a child when they are young, they're set for life. We don't mostly get that. So that's my dream, to have franchises of daycares all over South Africa and even in Zimbabwe, because I'm Zimbabwean. And even in Zimbabwe and even in Africa, just to have a good background, a basis for our kids.
One thing that I want to explore, which I sort of struggle is not the right word, but that's something that I had to sit with in my own career, and I just want to know how how you think about it and how you relate to it, emotionally and mentally. You say that you have a diploma in business administration, correct?
Yeah.
And when I was studying, I had an idea of what it would be like after I graduate. Like I was imagining a white collar job.
Yeah.
Like I was imagining corporate and like maybe a car and a house, in a nice suburb somewhere.
Yeah, I hear you.
Wearing a suit. But then that's not how my career turned out. I ended up working in Jeppestown, actually, just down the road from here. And the work was great. The people that I was working with were interesting, doing work that matters, But like it wasn't as glamorous as if I was working at Investec, for example. Working in Jeppestown, it's a rough part of Joburg.
Yeah, definitely.
If you've seen Jeppestown. And I had to, reckon with the disconnect of what I thought I would be when I was studying, the white-collar professional who goes to Investec and Sentin, and just like showing up in shorts and sneakers, working in Jeppestown and buying a magwinya from around the corner. So I just want to know about the experience of studying business administration. I'm sure you had ideas about what they would look like. And the blue collar work, so to speak, that you are doing now. Like what is the experience of having to get out of that expectation and working where you're working now? What is that like?
Well, Lindelani, I must say this is sort of like a bitter appeal to swallow, I must say. Let me tell you something briefly, short story. Sometime last year, I got hired into a law firm. Yeah. So that was before COVID, end of January. I was so happy. I'm like, yay, God, I've arrived. Hey,
Yeah.
I get to wear my heels, Kimamroot. I have heels, guys. I have heels, like serious heels.
Yeah.
And then I get to wear my heels. I get to wear my jackets and all. I mean, I had an office in Houghton. I worked there. Guess what? COVID hit. And then in September, you know the rule? Last one in, first one out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how it basically worked for me.
Sure.
Yes.
So we got retrenched in September. And that was tough. You know where it took me? Back to cleaning houses and trying to strive for the next thing. So you fall, you get up, you dust yourself up, and you move forward. There's no time to mourn. There's no time to cry and all those things. So, when I went there, I used to, there's this company that works as Uber that's got an app, Sweeps South. So I used to work for them. That's how I got to go and clean at that office.
Okay.
So when I got there and then they listened to me speak, so I was like, no, there's something wrong here. What do you do? What qualification do you have? I explained to them and they said, you know what, we're booking you next Wednesday. That was 2 days after. We're booking you on Wednesday. We need you for an interview here. I went there, I aced the interview. On Thursday, I started the job.
Okay, that's nice.
So it's, Lindelani, to answer your question, it's actually a sort of like a bitter pill when you know that in my mind, and in your family, people have always said, no, that one doesn't clean, that one. But when you find yourself in those situations, it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow. And we all have expectations in life. But if it doesn't work out, dude, take a curve. Whatever, work it out.
What is the thing that makes you break that barrier, saying that, you know what, I don't care. Like, I'm educated, yes, and I have all these things. I'm competent, I'm smart, but I am going to go and do this job that, hardly anyone is going to do in my position. What is the thing that makes you be able to break through that barrier and get yourself to actually do the work?
Sadly, I don't have the luxury of choosing. Maybe some people have the luxury of choosing, but I don't. And as a black child, I'm not going to sit and wait for someone, somewhere, to come and rescue me. I don't have a Cinderella stereotype. As a woman, I believe I can get up and do it for myself. I'm capable. So, and apart from that, it's my kids that inspire me the most. I need a legacy for my children. The sad part about being a black child, you start from A instead of starting from G somewhere there taking over from your parents, but most of us, we start from A, because where I am right now, you need to send a little bit to them for your mom and dad. You have an uncle there, you have a malume there, people that you need to share a little bit of money. And that takes us way back. But I need to give my kids a head start, so to speak. I need to establish a business and say, you know what, you're going to work in the business, know how it works. I'm not going to hand them over and say, since I have worked so hard, and then I'll just give it to them. They don't need to work for it also. But I'm giving them a head start. They don't need to start from A. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the alphabet. So that's what inspires me the most. My kids, they need a legacy.
Yeah.
So
As a black child, and my kids need, and I didn't get that. My dad tried. I mean, I went to school with my dad. He never went to school. His parents never valued education. But you realize that he needed education. When I was in grade 1, my dad was in grade 1 in adult school. When I was in, it's only that it's different for adults because they capture quickly and then they get to finish earlier than you do. But that's how it was for me and my dad. So he tried his best. So I'm also doing my best.
That is such a profound story. I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about, you know, the striving for something better, that even your dad at that age, it comes back to what you were talking about, that I don't know if it's a certain level of pride. I don't know if it's maybe the ideas that we have for ourselves that at this age I will have done this. And then there's a shame that, hey man, I haven't done this at this age, or I'm too old to be going back to this position, or my family, you know, won't be proud if I'm working this type of job. But, you know, the fact that you say your kids are your inspiration, that they drive you to do this, looking from what you're doing right now with your work, right? Where do you see all of this taking you? Because it's one thing that I think that's often the conversations we have between a menial job, right? And you know, things like careers, that you believe that you're doing something taking you somewhere.
Yeah.
Where do you see all of this taking you?
Okay. So, well, I graduate in November. And then I need to get some sort of experience here and there. I need to know how to run a daycare. So I would need probably to work in one. But my goal is to have my own institution, like have my own daycare, and have not only one, a number of them. I mean, you need multi-streams of income. I can't focus on one. So I need a number of them. I see myself also training other young people. I mean, this is job creation.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't want to start somewhere, there's nothing that I can do. But also, we're just taking the power into our own hands as black children. You just need to do something, empower someone at the end of the day. I hope one day I can stand up and say, this is my story. You can do it.
Yeah.
I'm unsure how to, you know, approach this topic. So work with me to bring it. You know, I'm curious about working, the work that you do as a domestic worker, right? Especially for someone of your education and intellect. You know, there are jobs that you sit down for an interview and they say, tell us why you're here. And then you have to say you're passionate about it. You know, like this is not the sort of thing that you can say that you're passionate about.
Sure.
I might be wrong about this.
Okay.
Right. But it's a job that you do, you know, it connects to making a living rather than, you know, a passion that you have for the work that you're doing. And when you're in the work, you know, doing it, what is the experience like? What is the good and what is some of the difficult things that you have to deal with working here, doing the sort of work that you do?
Okay. I'll tell you something before I answer your question, Lindelani. At some point, I got fired because I was overqualified for the job. So I was
sorry. What does that mean? Like,
I
what
was a
the
cleaner.
problem there?
I was a cleaner. I was working actually as a domestic worker for this family, and then this lady asked me to homeschool her child.
Right.
And then I told her that, but when you hired me, my roles were to clean your house, do your laundry, etc., all the chores that you do. Now you are asking me to homeschool your child. Does that come with a pay raise? Because when you get there, some people take advantage of your qualifications, because they know you're educated. You're going to ask me, how far did you get with your education? And then I'll tell you. And then some people say, oh, okay, she's passionate, and I love kids. So she's passionate about kids. Oh, she can teach. So this woman devised a schedule. She's like, no, from this time to this time, you'll be teaching my child. And then from this time to this time, you'll be doing your domestic work. I told her, it's either you pay me for both or I choose one.
Yep.
What do you want me to do? Teach your child or do domestic work? It's like, no. Why are you being so mean? Like, I was like, you are taking advantage of my education. I know how much I'm worth. Don't take me lightly when I come and clean your house. So she fired me. She said, you're overqualified for the job. You can't speak to me that way.
Wow.
So you get to places where people, not in a rude way, they expect to say, yes, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. And most people think domestic workers are dumb.
Yeah.
They're not educated. But some of us are. So to answer your question, yes, it comes with frustrations. But sometimes it comes as a blessing in disguise. You get to meet people. You never know what doors can be opened by that. I can never know by being here what doors can be opened in my life. So if I go there, I'm a strong believer. I pray. So when I go there, I say, God, wherever I'm going, open doors that I can never imagine. So like I was telling you that last year I was working for a law firm. Most people got fired, lost their jobs last year, and most people never got paid during COVID. I got a salary throughout COVID. I was new in the company, but I got a full salary throughout COVID until September. And the funny part of it? My husband wasn't getting anything.
Yeah.
So that salary sustained us as a family. Even though it came to an end of September, he was back at work.
Wow.
So you never know, Lindelani, what doors. It's not an easy thing to pick up after someone. It's not an easy thing to clean up after someone else. And sometimes you don't find people that respect you in those jobs. They treat you like nothing, like dirt, like you like as a ngani bakuphathela isigubhu somoya, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
They treat you as if they carry around oxygen for you. So sometimes it is hard, I don't want to lie.
And which sort of person would you say, and Pet, I'm going to give you a chance now, just want to explore this. Which sort of person would you say you meet more in the job? Is it like the sort of person who like expects you to pander to them and like call them sirs and mistress? Or is it a good person who sees your potential and, really cares about you as a person and sees you and acknowledges your dignity? Or what would you say you encounter more?
I'll say more people that treat me with respect. I've been blessed in that way. Although, I dropped this other lady last week because she refused to pay me. So I told her, you know what, I won't do anything. I won't work for you unless you respect that I work and I need to be paid. I don't go there to have fun. So you find those people who actually take advantage of your situation. The fact that you really need money. Some of us really need money. And then you have some people who's like, no, it's month end. No, it's good. I still have money in my account. Some of us are not like that. By the time we hit month end, so I need money. So I'm that kind of person. We really need money. So I don't play. I do my best to do my job very well. So I expect to do the paying very well when it gets to month end. So that's how I transact. I will offer a service and make sure there are no complaints, none whatsoever. And if they are, I rectify. And then I expect you to pay me. So if you don't respect me in that regard, then I can't work.
I think I wanted to plug here the more people probably be curious at how we found Nokuthula, right? And how we got to this conversation. Cara, who works with us on the show, invited Nokuthula to join us here on the podcast. So could you just give us, some context to the story of how you know Cara?
Okay. Kara is Michaela's sister, who happens to be Amber's roommate. Amber happens to be the current lady that I clean for. So you see, that's a long story. Hey?
Yeah, it's a long thread.
It's a long thread. So Kara's sister is shares an apartment with Amber. I currently clean for them. I work for them as a domestic worker.
As a follow-up, I think there's curiosity around, at least for me, that, working this as a job, knowing that there's a reason behind this, knowing that it's not even about pride, that there's bills you need to pay, right? There's mouths that need to be fed in your household. And stepping into someone's home and having to clean that, stepping into possibly someone's home whose life might be radically different with regards to where they work, what they earn, and what they have, right? What is that like for you? What that reality, if you have to go clean for someone whose situation is completely different to yours, not even just how they treat you, but just how they live being so different. What is that like for you?
Honestly, it's sort of like you wake up and go into the life that you want to live in future.
Yeah.
It's sort of like waking up and going to the place where you want to become or who you want to become. When I go there, I tell myself, this is me. One day, I'll get here. This is me. I see, I get to work at places like the Capital in Sandton. And then I get there, the lady that I worked for, she owns the apartment. It's hers. It's beautiful. I don't want to lie. It's very beautiful. But when I get there, I say, Nokuthula, this is you. You have a glimpse of your future. This is you. Because you know what? Environment speaks into your life. A certain mindset. If you take a child that grew up a Lokshin and a child that grows up in the suburbs, their set of mentalities are different.
Yeah.
I grew up in the suburbs, not because my father owned one. My mother was a domestic worker. So the good part about Zimbabwe, the cottages are much bigger. So we grew up Sihlan Nabelung. We stayed with my mom's bosses. So my mentality was totally different from someone who had a even if my dad didn't own the house.
Sure.
So when I get to that place, I'll allow the environment to inspire me, to speak to me. And then I go back home, I was like, I don't like you. This is where I'm going. At least it gives me. But when you sit in one place, your level of thinking is limited. Sometimes you'll be fooled to think that you have arrived when you have arrived in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Because most of us, we think we have arrived in some corner, in a shack, and think you have a plasma on the wall, you have a satellite dish on top of your shack, you think you have arrived. Wait until you go to places where people live well. So I take it as an inspiration. Wherever I go, I'm telling you, when I used to work for Sweep South, it's like Uber, you go anyway. Someone requests you, you go anyway, wherever you've been requested. So literally every day I'll be working in a totally different place. And you get to see places, you say, this is me, this is what I want. I get inspired. I let the environment speak to me. I get to see cars. I get to see houses. I get to see how other people work. I get to see, you would actually think people sleep. They actually don't. Some of them don't. They work very hard for to be where they are. It's good to admire from a distance, but when you go into their lives, you see how much they work. So, Pat, to answer your question, I'm not discouraged. I'm not bitter. I allow that environment to give me strength and say, you know what, God, this is where I'm going. This is my life. This is where I want to go. But I'm not going to wait for someone to die and leave me an inheritance, or I'll work towards it.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going.
Wow.
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm not rendered speechless often. But I find myself being speechless and very inspired. Actually, I struggle with hard work. I've always been the sort of person that it's either something was naturally easy for me or I just didn't do it. So as a result, when I was growing up, I was just like watching cartoons 90% of the time and playing video games, and school wasn't too difficult.
Wow, Lindelani.
Yeah, and school wasn't too difficult. I've learned the value of hard work, I would say, in the past 4 years, where, for the past 3.5 years or so, I was working 2 jobs. I would work and then I would work on weekends and evenings. And it was really, I think the trigger for me was doing my honors. When I was doing my honors, I was working from 9 to like 4:30. And then from 6 to 9, I would need to be at school. And then when I get to my uncle's house in Soweto at like 10 o'clock, I still need to cook and clean, That was the first time when I said, like, you need to be like, there are a lot of people who are competent and smart, but they're hardworking as well. If you don't adopt the attitude of being hardworking, you won't get anywhere in life where you need to go, So it was a very hard lesson. So I'm very inspired, hearing how, hard work is just like a thing that is always in your sight and you're always aiming for.
Lindelani, it's not always been the thing. No. If you meet my family, they'll tell you a totally different story. My dad says I'm spoiled. I went to a private school. My brother and sister, they had to walk 20 Ks to 20 Ks from like 40 Ks to school. But when I was born, things were much better for my dad. Yeah.
What work were both your parents doing, if you don't mind divulging?
My dad he also used to work for a private school, one of the most expensive schools in Zimbabwe, in Bulawayo. My dad started working as a groundsman.
Okay.
So I told you my dad used to go to school. So that private school offered evening classes for adults that never went to school. That's how my dad got to school. So he worked his way up until he was a driver and all those things. And then until he left, and then he came here in South Africa. He stays in Soweto, actually.
Okay.
And then my mom has always been a domestic worker. She's actually only retiring or resigning this year.
Yeah.
End of the year, she'll be resigning. He said,
Which is fascinating to me. You know that if you're a child with dreams, right, and you've seen your parents, this is me growing up, so it might not be everyone's context, right? When you see your parents doing this kind of job and the work that they'll put in for you, I totally understand the private school thing. I also sent to a private school, and the hope is that the parents say that you'll do better than we are doing.
yeah.
And then mother having been a domestic worker, and you're in the situation currently where you're doing the same work. How do you make sense of that? Also, because now you have children. Have you ever got to a point where you might have thought that, hey, my mother's doing this, I'm doing this now. Will my kids end up doing this? Or how do I avoid something like that?
So, Pat, that's basically what I'm trying to do. Break the cycle. My mom would have probably never wanted to better herself or go to school. My parents were not that educated. I think they got comfortable with their level of education. So they didn't really, my dad did try. My dad works for Eskom here in SA. So my dad was one person who wanted to better his life so that he can give us something better. But my mom, I think she got comfortable at where she was. So for us, it's breaking a cycle. For me, it's breaking that cycle. That's why I won't do it. It's a promise, Pat. I won't do it forever. I won't clean people's houses forever. It's not a bad job. I'm not saying it in a bad way. But I won't do it forever. I won't say, no, I'm retiring from cleaning. No, I'll retire pretty soon, probably by the end of this year or mid next year, because I'll have to apply for jobs and get the experience that I need to run my own institution or daycare. So I'm not going to do this forever, and I'll break the cycle. So it's a matter of wanting to break the cycle and not demeaning what your parents did.
Yes.
They did whatever they can at their position. But I'm also doing what I can where I am.
Yeah.
So I just want to break that cycle for my kids.
Yeah.
I heard this quote with Lindelani. I want to hear your view on this as well. That once said that if hard work was the key to success, then African women would be billionaires. Because in the context of Africa,
Yeah.
one works harder.
I'll have Nokuthula react first.
Definitely, most definitely. But where we channel our work is important. I think coming from a context where in Zimbabwe, we were sent to school while the other people learned how to work the country. I think we lose it if we have people working in the right positions.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Africa will be the best place. Because when you look at it, we have all the resources.
Yeah.
Yet we're being hired.
It's true.
Yet we're being hired for the same resources that belong to us. It's like being a child. You are being hired to work for already what belongs to you, but you get paid peanuts.
Yep.
So I believe that if we are empowered as women, channeled in the right direction, I think we'll do well. We'll be billionaires.
Yeah.
Believe me. Also working hard. If you are a mom, let's say if you're single, maybe yeah. But if you are a mom and a wife, it has its bad sides. Because you don't get to spend time with your kids, and also working at the hotel. Sometimes you get a call like at 8 p.m. Please, we need to sort this out at work. Now I have to leave my family time and just go to work. Sometimes you have a client checking out today and the next one the next morning. So sometimes what I would do, I'll go with my husband. We sleep over at the hotel because I have to work overnight. That takes out my time from my family, from my kids, so to speak,
sure.
even if my husband is there. Because I'll say, you know what, babe, let's go. I have to work overnight. So we would go and work. I would work overnight. He sleeps. I would work overnight. And then because there'll be a next client checking in at 10. And at 10, I'm already at my next job. So I have to make sure everything is perfect for the next client. And I have to leave and go to my 8 to 12 job.
That is intense. Would you say the ends justify the means? Would you say, because, working something like that feels hectic. Do you have moments when you say, this is a lot, but for where I'm going, you've mentioned, where you see yourself,
Yeah.
does it balance, or is it just something that you have to grin and bear it?
Pat, to be honest, there are days, I can't say I'm a superwoman. There are some days that I break down and really cry because sometimes I'm really exhausted. And come to think of it, when you are a child, when you are a mom, your son or your daughter, they don't really understand what you've gone through, because my kids are 9, 7, and 4. So they're still pretty young.
Yeah.
So they really don't understand the amount of time or amount of energy that you put into work. When you get home, they expect you to be whole. Yay, mommy's home, and all those things. Sometimes I'll be really, really exhausted. Sometimes I just break down and say, I am tired. I'm really, really exhausted. There are those days.
Yeah.
They are pretty intense and hard days where I really literally cry and say, I'm tired. But I pray my efforts are worth it. Yeah.
One last thing that I would like to say on this topic, and just maybe have you to respond to it quickly. And this is not about your particular context or anything. It's just a thing that, I've been thinking about recently, because a friend, of mine fell pregnant.
Yeah.
And she was looking for work, right? And it is pretty much known that if you're pregnant and you're looking for work, if it's early enough that you are not visible,
Yeah.
you don't declare, because no one's going to hire a woman who's going to leave, 3 months,
Definitely.
6 months down the line. Or if you're big, you just stop because, like, again, it's a waste of effort. I was just, thinking about how hard it's been for women to work and have a career, also having the responsibility of childbearing, because like a lot of the work most of the time of childbearing falls on women.
Yeah, it does.
And I don't think we've set up structures like even like we all care about having kids, and raising them. But in the workplace, we pretend as if like it doesn't exist, in a sense that we don't give women all the support that they need to have in order for this, having a career and having a child is concerned. It seems like at some point they need to make a choice of either like they need to delay, having a child until their late 30s so they can focus on their career in their 20s. Or if they do have a child in their 20s, they're saying like I'm gonna have 2 kids now so that I'm done and I can focus on a career. Like they should not be having to do those trade-offs.
Yeah.
We should be working really, really hard to solve this problem, but it seems like we don't care about it. That's the one thing. And the second thing is there's a lot of work, chores and the like that happens in the home.
Yeah.
And who does it fall onto? Who does it fall onto?
Yeah.
And we have all these time-saving devices that we have now. Like we have washing machines, we have dishwashers, and they make the job easier for women. But like I see men in our generation that they work, their girlfriends work, they come back home and they still expect the woman to cook.
I've seen that.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. We're both at work. Like, why should the responsibility?
Definitely.
I just like, where does this land? Like this whole thing that I'm saying inarticulately and I'm going sideways. Where does it land with you two?
Oh, wow. Lindelani, I'm telling you, maybe I have had my fair share of grace. When I had my daughter, when they first hired me, I was already 3 months pregnant.
Wow, that's
That is something.
Yeah, so I told, I was a nanny too then. So when I went there, I told them that, because they ask you, are you planning to have children and when? And I told them, if you're not going to hire me, it will only be for one reason, because I know I can do my job. It's because I'm already pregnant. And I'm telling you, I worked until 9 months. I was in labor when I was at work with Mntwana Mlungu. I'm at work and I'm calling him. He's in 4 ways. I'm like, boss, I'm in labor. It's happening. You would swear that he was the one in labor because he came running. He thought the baby was popping out, but I was in my early stages of child labor. So sometimes there are no systems, like what you're saying, Lindelani, there are no systems that are set. And it's like, at most places, they say it's your fault. You decided to get pregnant, so deal with it. But it's not like that.
Yeah.
We plan to have families. Maybe it doesn't correspond with your memorandums or whatever they're called, but I want to have kids. It's like in the corporate environment, it's like they want to tell you when to have kids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the right time.
Yes.
It's not the right time.
This is not the right time to have kids. But on the actual fact, I should make that decision
Yes, and receive all the support.
And
yes,
receive
you
all
can
the
from
support
your employers
to have kids from the employers. And some of them, they tell you, what, my maternity leave wasn't paid. No,
but
it
like,
wasn't.
that's not uncommon. That's really not uncommon.
I went on 3 months maternity leave. Yeah, at the end of 3 months, I went back to work. It wasn't paid.
I mean, that first of all, it was short, right?
Yeah.
And then it was unpaid.
Yes, it was unpaid.
And the thing is, like, this is like one of the craziest things that we do, right? Because as a society, we care about children. Like, if you ask anyone, it's something that we value more than, like, there are few things we value more than being parents and having kids. But we spend the least amount of effort supporting women to make sure that we get the thing that we want. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And do you guys think it has anything to do with the fact that the people that make the decisions can afford to pay, for childcare? they can get someone else to do it, right? So they don't have to make these, there are no trade-offs in their lives.
Sure.
The people who are in the key areas to make decisions about these sort of things, they don't feel the pain.
No, they don't.
Because they have the resources, to outsource some
Yeah.
of the
Yeah,
strain.
some of them are in a comfortable situation. They can actually have kids and go back to work next week, or sit at home, or have a nanny, a night nanny, a day nanny, and all that kind of thing. But some of us, we don't have those privileges.
Yeah.
You still need to go to work, come back home, deal with kids, all those things. So I don't think women get enough because it's deemed as a choice. If you decide to, you deal with the consequences, which are the consequences are you don't get the support. So that's why most women, they delay having kids. But I did it the other way around, Lindelani. I decided to have my kids, and then I focused.
Yeah.
That's the choice that I had to make because there was no way. So I decided, you know what, Habi, we're having babies, and then we're done. And then I focus on my career and focus on building a legacy. I mean, we help each other build a legacy for our kids.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
I think for me, what you just said points to two things, right? And very quickly, that there's either no such thing as equal work, right? Or no equal reward. And it's one of those two things, because as we're saying, that Black women in Africa are the hardest working. And in whatever contest you want to look, paid or unpaid work, that they are the hardest working. Even if it's just staying at home raising the kids, that in itself is a job that cannot be matched to any other task that we're doing in society, unless you're
that's
raising
true.
a company
That's
as a
true.
baby. It's like the closest thing. But there's no equal reward for what Black women are doing. So that's the simple answer I have. There's no such thing as either equal work or no equal reward in society for work.
Nokuthula, it has been, whatever I'm going to say next is going to be inadequate to express how much it's been a delight and how much it's been inspiring to have you here. I think keep on being awesome and keep on inspiring us.
Thank you. Thank you for your true and genuine self. And thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Pat. You guys have been awesome, and Lindelani.
And we'd also like to thank you, the listener who've been tuning in. This is Imzamo, the podcast where we don't have all the answers, but we definitely want to ask all the questions as much as we can and make sense of these issues in our own lives.